This morning light filtered through my bedroom curtains in that soft, golden way that only happens on winter mornings. I stretched, yawned, and smiled to myself. Christmas Eve. My favorite day of the year. Before we continue, please like, comment, and subscribe for more true life stories like this. Now, let's begin. I could already imagine the scene downstairs. Mom probably making her famous cinnamon rolls, Dad reading the paper with his coffee, my sister Maya scrolling through her phone at the kitchen island. The house would smell like pine from the tree we decorated together last week, mixed with cinnamon and coffee and that indefinable scent of home during the holidays. I threw on my robe, the fuzzy blue one Maya had given me last Christmas, and padded down the hallway in my slippers. Mom? Dad? Anyone up yet? Silence. That was weird. Mom was always the first one up, especially on Christmas Eve. She lived for this day, for the baking and the preparation and the anticipation of tomorrow's celebration. Maya? I called, pushing open her bedroom door. Empty. Bed made. Suitcase gone from her closet. A cold feeling started in my stomach. I checked my parents' room. Empty. Bed made. Dad's travel bag missing from the closet shelf. The cold feeling spread to my chest. I walked downstairs, my footsteps echoing in a way they shouldn't in a house full of people. The living room was exactly as we'd left it the night before. Christmas tree decorated, stockings hung on the mantel, wrapped presents underneath. But something was wrong. The presents, there were fewer than I remembered. The stockings, mine looked deflated, empty. And there was no noise. No coffee brewing. No Christmas music playing. No voices. Just silence. I walked into the kitchen, and that's when I saw it. A piece of paper on the counter, held down by the salt shaker. My mother's perfect handwriting in purple ink. Harper. Went to Hawaii. Last-minute trip. We couldn't pass it up. Back January 2nd. There's leftover lasagna in the fridge. Have a nice Christmas. Love, Mom. I read it 3 times. Then 4. Then I stopped counting and just stood there, holding the note, my hands starting to tremble. They went to Hawaii. On Christmas Eve. Without me. I looked at the date my mother had written at the top of the note, December 23rd, yesterday. They'd left yesterday while I was at work, finishing up that project so I could have Christmas week completely free. Free to spend with my family. Free to bake cookies and watch movies and exchange gifts and be together. They'd packed. They'd called a car service or driven to the airport. They'd boarded a plane to Hawaii. And they'd done it all without saying a word to me. My phone was still upstairs. I walked back up like a zombie, grabbed it from my nightstand, and pulled up Instagram. The first post on my feed was from my mother. A photo of her, Dad, and Maya at the airport, wearing matching Hawaiian shirts, holding champagne glasses, huge smiles on their faces. Posted 16 hours ago. The caption, sometimes you just need to escape to paradise. Family vacation mode. Activated hibiscus airplane, palm tree. I scrolled down. More posts. Maya on the plane, selfie with a sleep mask pushed up on her forehead. First class to Maui. Best Christmas surprise ever. Dad at the hotel. Ocean view visible through the window behind him. Room with a view. Grateful for family time. Mom on the beach at sunset. Nothing better than quality time with the people who matter most. Hibiscus red heart airplane. I counted the people in each photo. Mom. Dad. Maya. Aunt Linda and Uncle Tom. When did they get invited? My cousin Emma. Maya's boyfriend Derek. 7 people on this last-minute family trip to Hawaii. Everyone but me. I scrolled back through their posts, looking for any mention of me. Any comment explaining my absence. Nothing. Just happy family vacation content, as if I didn't exist. I opened the family group chat, the one I was technically part of but rarely posted in. The messages started 3 days ago. Mom. Excited for Hawaii. Everyone remember to pack sunscreen. Maya. I literally cannot wait. This is going to be amazing. Dad. Did everyone get their boarding passes? Aunt Linda. We're all set. See you at the airport. Emma. This is the best Christmas present ever. I scrolled up. Back through weeks of messages about planning this trip. Hotel reservations, snorkeling tours, dinner reservations, packing lists. 3 months of planning, 3 months of messages, dozens of conversations about this last-minute Hawaii trip. And I'd never seen any of it, because they'd planned it in a separate group chat. The Hawaii trip group chat that I wasn't part of. They'd deliberately created a separate conversation, planned an entire vacation, and then made sure to occasionally mention it in the main family chat where I could see, after it was too late to do anything about it. I looked at my calendar. The time-off request I'd submitted in September for Christmas week. Approved in October. I'd told them about it. I'd told them I'd cleared my entire schedule specifically for the holidays. They knew. They'd known for months that I'd be available, that I'd taken time off specifically for family time, and they'd planned a family vacation without me anyway.
My phone rang.
Mom calling. For a moment, I just stared at it, watching her contact photo smile at me. The picture from last Thanksgiving, her arm around me, both of us laughing at something Dad had said. That photo was a lie. This whole thing was a lie. I answered. Harper. Honey. Merry Christmas Eve. Her voice was bright, cheerful, like nothing was wrong. You're in Hawaii.
My voice came out flat dead. Yes.
Isn't it beautiful? We're at this amazing resort, and the weather is just perfect. Why didn't you invite me? Silence. Then, oh honey, it was so last minute. We didn't think you'd want to come. You're always so busy with work. I requested this week off in September. Well, yes, but you're always saying how you need peace and quiet and alone time. We thought you'd prefer to have the house to yourself for the holidays. I laughed. It came out bitter, broken. You thought I'd prefer to spend Christmas alone? You thought I wouldn't want to go on a family vacation to Hawaii? Harper, don't be dramatic. You're an adult. You can handle one Christmas on your own. One Christmas. The words felt like glass in my throat. This is the third year in a row you've made plans without me. But this is the first time you've literally left me alone on Christmas. That is not fair. We invited you to Thanksgiving. You told me about Thanksgiving 2 days before. I already had plans with friends. Well then, that's your choice. Mom, you've been planning this trip for 3 months. I saw the group chat. Another silence. Longer this time. I could hear music and laughter in the background on her end. The sound of family having fun. Family that didn't include me. Harper, I don't know what you want me to say. The trip is booked. We're here. You can't expect us to cancel our vacation because you're feeling left out. I'm not feeling left out. I was left out. Deliberately. You're being oversensitive. This is exactly why we didn't invite you. You always make everything so difficult. We just wanted a relaxing family vacation without any drama. Without any drama. Meaning without me. I have to go, I said. Have fun in Hawaii. Harper, wait. I hung up. For a long moment, I just sat there on my bed, surrounded by the Christmas decorations I'd hung in my room last week. The little tree on my dresser. The string lights around my mirror. The stocking I'd hung on my door handle as a joke. All of it suddenly looked pathetic. Like I was a child playing house, pretending I had a family who cared about me. My phone started buzzing with texts. Mom, I can't believe you hung up on me. That was incredibly rude. Maya, OMG, Mom just told me what you said to her. Way to ruin Christmas. Dad. Harper, your mother is very upset. Please apologize. I turned off my phone. Then I turned it back on and opened Instagram again. Scrolled through their Hawaii posts. Read the comments. Aunt Carol. Looks amazing. Where's Harper? Mom. Oh, she was too busy with work. You know how she is, career always comes first. That was a lie. A complete lie. And she told it publicly, where everyone could see, where everyone would believe it. I looked around my room. At the furniture that had been mine since high school. At the walls I'd never been allowed to paint because Mom said it would damage the resale value. At the closet that was half full of clothes Maya had given me because they didn't fit her anymore. I'd been living in this house for 28 years. But it had never really been my home. It was their house, and I was just occupying space in it. the space they allowed me to have for as long as they decided they wanted me around. And apparently, they decided they didn't want me around for Christmas. I walked to my closet and pulled out my suitcase, the old beat-up one, not the nice matching set Mom and Maya had. Started pulling clothes off hangers, folding them, packing them. My hands weren't shaking anymore. They were steady.
Certain.
I opened my laptop and Googled moving companies open Christmas Eve. 5 hours later, I was sitting on my mostly empty bedroom floor, surrounded by boxes, when I heard the moving truck pull up outside. I'd found a company, Emergency Moving Services, that specialized in exactly this kind of thing. Last-minute moves. Holiday moves. No judgment, just service, their website promised. I walked downstairs and opened the front door. 3 people got out of the truck. A woman in her 40s with a practical ponytail and work gloves, a younger guy with earbuds around his neck, and an older man with a salt and pepper beard. The woman walked up first, taking in the scene with experienced eyes. Me standing in the doorway, boxes visible behind me, Christmas decorations everywhere, the obvious absence of any other people. "Harper," she asked. "That's me. I'm Diane. This is Marcus and Joe." She gestured to her crew. "Christmas Eve move, huh?"
Yeah.
She studied my face for a moment, and something in her expression softened. "Let me guess. Family stuff." I nodded, not trusting my voice. "Good for you," she said simply. "We see this more than you'd think, especially around the holidays. Lots of people wait until they're alone to realize they deserve better." She pulled out a clipboard. "Where are we heading?"
I don't know yet.
"I have a few places I'm looking at. Can we load everything first?" "Absolutely. We'll get you packed up, and you can decide where home is going to be while we drive." "Sound good?" I felt my throat tighten with unexpected emotion.
Yeah.
"That sounds good." They got to work with an efficiency that spoke of years of experience. Marcus carried boxes. Joe disassembled furniture with surprising speed. Diane directed everything like a general, occasionally stopping to ask me questions. "This dresser yours or theirs?" "Theirs. I bought that nightstand, though."
Got it.
"Pictures on the walls?" "Those are Maya's." "Wait, that one's mine." I pointed to a framed print of the mountains that I'd bought with my first paycheck from my actual career job. She took it down carefully, wrapped it. "Good. Take what's yours. Leave what's not." Around box number 15, I found the jewelry box on my dresser. Family heirlooms that Mom had given me over the years. Great-grandma's pearls, Aunt Susan's ring, the bracelet that had been passed down for 3 generations. I opened it, looked at the pieces inside. None of them felt like mine. They felt like obligations. Things I was supposed to treasure because of whose hands they'd passed through, not because I actually valued them. I pulled out a piece of paper from my desk drawer and wrote a note. "For your real daughter. Merry Christmas." I left the jewelry box open on my dresser with a note beside it. Diane saw it and didn't say anything. Just gave me an approving nod. 2 hours later, my room was empty. My bathroom was cleared out. Everything that was actually mine was packed in boxes in the truck. I did one final walkthrough of the house. The living room looked the same as this morning: Christmas tree, presents, stockings. Except now I noticed that every present under the tree was for someone in Hawaii. Maya's name.
Mom's.
Dad's.
Derek's.
Even Aunt Linda and Uncle Tom. Nothing for me. I checked my stocking. Empty. It had been empty this whole time, and I'd been telling myself there were gifts coming, they just hadn't filled it yet. But they'd filled everyone else's. Before they left, they'd hung full stockings for people who weren't even here, and left mine empty. In the kitchen, I found the leftover lasagna Mom had mentioned in her note. It was from 2 weeks ago, growing mold in the back of the fridge. They'd left me alone on Christmas with moldy leftovers and an empty stocking. I walked to the counter, took my house key off my keyring and left it there. Pulled out another piece of paper and wrote, "Merry Christmas. Don't bother calling. I won't answer." I didn't slam the door when I left. I just closed it quietly, firmly, with finality. Walked to the moving truck where Diane was waiting. "You good?" she asked. "I'm perfect. Let's go." "Where to?" I pulled up the apartment listing I'd been looking at for the past hour. A one-bedroom in the city, available immediately, fully furnished. The rent was high, but I could afford it. I'd been saving money for years, living at home, telling myself I was being practical. Really, I'd just been too scared to leave. 142, Pine Street, I told her. Downtown. Good choice. I know that building. It's nice. Real nice. She climbed into the truck. You coming with us or meeting us there? I'll follow you. I walked to my car, the one I'd bought with my own money, the one that was actually mine, and got in. Started the engine. Pulled out behind the moving truck. I didn't look back at the house. Not once. The new apartment was everything the listing had promised.
Clean. Bright.
Modern. High ceilings, big windows, a kitchen that was actually functional. Empty of memories and expectations and years of trying to be good enough. The movers worked quickly, professional, and respectful. When everything was inside, Diane presented me with the bill. I paid it, added a hefty tip.
Thank you, I said.
For everything. And for not asking questions. Everyone's got a story, Diane said. Yours isn't my business. But for what it's worth, you made the right choice. I can always tell when someone's running away versus when someone's running toward something better. You're doing the second thing. After they left, I stood in the middle of my new living room, surrounded by boxes, and felt my phone vibrate. I turned it back on to coordinate with the movers. 17 notifications. I scrolled through them. More Hawaii posts. Mom at dinner. Best Christmas Eve dinner ever. Maya on the beach with Derek. Sunset kisses in paradise. Dad with a Mai Tai. This is the life. Not one of them had noticed I'd moved out. Not one of them had checked in to see if I was okay, alone on Christmas Eve. They were too busy having the time of their lives without me. There was a knock on my door. I opened it to find my best friend Jess standing there, holding 2 bags, one from the Chinese takeout place down the street, one from the wine store on the corner. You called the movers, she said. I called the movers. I confirmed. Good. She walked in, set the bags on the counter, and pulled me into a fierce hug. I'm so proud of you. I felt tears start then, the first one since this morning. They left me, Jess. They actually left me alone on Christmas. I know, honey. I know. And they're going to regret it. But right now we're going to eat lo mein and drink wine and make this place feel like home. She pulled back, looked around. Okay, first things first. We need a tree. Jess, it's Christmas Eve. Everywhere is closed. There's a bodega on the corner that has those little pre-lit ones. I saw it on the way here. Come on. 20 minutes later, we were back with a 3-foot Christmas tree, still in its box, and a bag of ornaments from the dollar store. We set it up on a side table, plugged it in, and the little white lights made the whole apartment feel warmer. There, Jess said, satisfied. Now it's Christmas. We unpacked enough boxes to find plates and forks, spread out the Chinese food on the counter, and ate sitting on the floor because I didn't have a table yet. Can I see the posts? Jess asked. I handed her my phone. Watched her face go through the same journey mine had. Confusion, disbelief, anger. Harper, she said carefully, your mom commented on these. People asked where you were. She told them you were too busy with work. I know. That's a lie. I know. She's making you look like the bad guy. Like you chose work over family. I know. I took a sip of wine. She's been doing that for years. I just never saw it clearly until now. Jess scrolled through more posts, her jaw getting tighter. They've been planning this for months. 3 months, according to the group chat. The group chat you weren't in? Correct. Harper. Jess set down the phone. This is abuse. You know that, right? This is deliberately excluding you, gaslighting you about it, and then publicly lying to make it look like your choice. This is psychological abuse. Hearing someone else say it made it real in a way it hadn't been before. Yeah, I said quietly. I think you're right. So, what are you going to do? I thought about it. Took another sip of wine. Nothing. Nothing. I'm not going to engage. I'm not going to argue. I'm not going to try to explain or defend myself. I'm just going to disappear from their lives the way they tried to disappear me from this Christmas. That's very mature of you. Or very petty. Can be both. Jess raised her glass. To chosen family. I clinked my plastic cup against hers. To chosen family. We spent the rest of Christmas Eve unpacking essentials, hanging string lights, making the apartment look less like a storage unit and more like a home. Around 11 p.m., Jess pulled out her phone. Okay, I'm making an executive decision. You're going to post something. Jess. Not for them. For you. You need to stake your claim on this new life. And honestly, people deserve to know the truth. She was right. I opened Instagram, took a photo of the little Christmas tree in my new apartment, Jess photobombing in the background with her wine glass, both of us genuinely smiling. Caption. Merry Christmas to me. Starting fresh with people who actually want me around. To everyone who left me behind, thanks for showing me who you really are. I'm done being an afterthought. I hit post before I could second-guess it. The response was immediate. Comments started flooding in. Wait, what happened? Your family went to Hawaii without you? On Christmas Eve? Harper, I'm so sorry. That's terrible. Good for you for leaving. You deserve better. My cousin Emma. Harper, I just saw this. Nobody told me you weren't coming to Hawaii. I thought you were flying separately or something. I'm so sorry. Aunt Carol. What is going on? Are you okay? And then, the one I'd been waiting for. Mom. Public comment, sweetheart. This is a misunderstanding.
Please call me.
We're very worried. I replied, also public. You weren't worried when you left me alone on Christmas Eve. Don't start now. Jess read over my shoulder and cackled. Oh, she's not going to like that. My phone started ringing. Mom calling. I declined. It rang again immediately. Declined again. Text messages started coming in. Mom. Harper, answer your phone right now. Maya. OMG, are you serious? You're airing our family business on social media? How immature can you be? Dad. Harper, please call you mother. She's very upset. I turned off my phone, set it face down on the counter. You know they're going to keep calling, Jess said. Let them. I'm not answering tonight. Tonight is about me, not them. We stayed up until midnight, talking and laughing and making plans for New Year's. When Jess finally left around 1 a.m., I walked through my new apartment alone for the first time. It was quiet, empty of furniture and history. But it didn't feel lonely. It felt like possibility. I fell asleep on an air mattress in my empty bedroom, wrapped in my favorite blanket, and slept better than I had in years. Christmas morning, I woke up to 47 notifications on my phone. The family had discovered I'd moved out. The timeline, as far as I could piece together from their increasingly frantic messages. They'd gotten back from a beach excursion around 10 p.m. Hawaii time, 2 a.m. my time, and Mom had seen my Instagram post. She'd tried calling. When I didn't answer, she'd called Dad's cell phone, which he'd left behind at the hotel. Then she'd tried Maya, who was out at a club with Derek. By the time they'd all gotten back to the hotel and compared notes, they'd worked themselves into a panic. Mom had called our home landline. Yes, we still had one. No answer. She'd called the neighbors. Mrs. Peterson next door had confirmed that yes, she'd seen a moving truck at the house yesterday, and yes, all my stuff was gone. That's when the real meltdown began. Voicemail 1, sweet/fake. Harper, honey, please call. There's been a terrible misunderstanding. We thought you were working. Please come home. We can talk about this. Voicemail 2, concerned/manipulative. Harper, we're very worried. You're not thinking clearly. Come home, and we'll forget this ever happened. Voicemail 3, angry. This is ridiculous. You moved out? On Christmas? How selfish can you be? Do you know how this makes us look? Voicemail 4, victim mode. How could you do this to me? I'm your mother. After everything I've done for you, you're breaking my heart on Christmas. Voicemail 5, threatening. Fine. If you want to act like a child, you're out of the will. Don't come crying back when you can't afford your rent. And we're returning all those Christmas presents we got you. I played them on speaker while I made coffee. Jess had stayed over, sleeping on my couch, and she listened to the whole thing with her mouth hanging open. She went through all 5 stages of narcissist grief in 5 voicemails, Jess observed. It's kind of impressive, I admitted. The last one especially. We're returning your Christmas presents. Harper, were there any Christmas presents? There were not. So, she's threatening to return gifts that never existed.
Correct.
Your family is insane. I'm starting to realize that. I deleted all the voicemails. Looked at the texts. More of the same. Fake concern masking anger. Victim mentality. Threats disguised as consequences. Maya, I hope you're happy. You've ruined Christmas for everyone. Mom is crying. Dad is furious. This is so like you to make everything about yourself. That one made me laugh. I'd made everything about myself by moving out while they were on vacation, by existing. The extended family group chat was even more interesting. Aunt Carol, can someone please explain what's happening? Why wasn't Harper invited to Hawaii? Mom, it was a last-minute trip, Carol. Harper was busy with work. Cousin Emma. Mom, I just looked at the old group chats. You guys have been planning this since September. And Harper isn't in those chats. Mom, that's not. We didn't deliberately exclude anyone. Emma, there's literally a group chat called Hawaii Trip. Do not tell Harper. I found it in Dad's texts when I borrowed his phone. I sat up straighter. Wait, what? Jess grabbed my phone, found the message. Sure enough, Emma had screenshotted it. A group chat with that exact name. Messages going back months. Not just planning the trip. Actively discussing how to keep it secret from me. Message from Mom, September 15th. Make sure Harper doesn't find out about this. You know how she gets. She'll make it all about her, or find some reason why we can't go. Message from Maya, October 3rd. She's so exhausting. I'm glad we can have one vacation without her drama. Message from Dad, November 12th. Do we need to make up an excuse for why she's not invited? Message from Mom, November 12th. No, just don't mention it. If she notices, we'll say it was last minute. Screenshot after screenshot. Months of messages. Months of actively, deliberately planning to exclude me and then lie about it. Grandma, in the family chat, I've seen enough. Harper, if you're reading this, I'm sorry. You deserved better. And you 3, she was clearly addressing Mom, Dad, and Maya, should be ashamed of yourselves. Uncle Dave, agreed. This is messed up. Aunt Carol. Harper, honey, call me when you're ready. I'd love to take you to lunch. Mom. You're all being manipulated. Harper has always been dramatic. She's twisting things to make herself look like a victim. Emma. Aunt Marie, I literally just showed you proof that you deliberately excluded her. There's no twisting. You did this. The chat devolved into arguments after that. I stopped reading. Your grandma is savage, Jess noted. I like her. She's always been my favorite. Are you going to respond to any of this? I thought about it.
Yeah, once.
Then I'm done. I opened the family group chat and typed. I've seen the screenshots. I know the Hawaii trip wasn't last minute. I know there was a group chat specifically to hide it from me. I know you planned for months to exclude me from Christmas and then lie about it. I moved out because I'm done accepting crumbs of affection from people who see me as a burden. I hope your trip was worth it. Don't contact me again. I hit send, then immediately exited the group chat. Blocked Mom's number. Blocked Dad's. Blocked Maya's. Holy shit, Jess breathed. You actually did it. I actually did it. My phone buzzed. A text from Grandma. Grandma, good for you, sweetheart. You're stronger than I was at your age. If you need anything, money, support, someone to talk to, call me. I love you. I felt tears prick my eyes. I need to call Grandma.
Do it.
I'll make us Christmas breakfast. The next few days were surreal. My social media exploded. Apparently, my story had resonated with a lot of people who'd experienced similar things with their families. The comments and messages of support were overwhelming. But so were the messages from flying monkeys, family friends who'd been sent by my mother to convince me to work things out. Mrs. Henderson from church. Your mother is devastated. Family is forever, Harper. You need to forgive and move on. My mom's college friend. I don't know what happened, but I'm sure your mother didn't mean to hurt you. She's such a good woman. Random cousin I'd met twice. Blood is thicker than water. You're going to regret this. I ignored them all. December 26th, my family flew home. I know because Maya posted about it. Maya, back to reality. But what a perfect Christmas vacation. So grateful for family time. Red heart. The comments on that post were not what she expected. Did you enjoy leaving your sister alone on Christmas? Family time without your whole family? Interesting choice. The audacity to post about family after what you did. Maya's response was to make her account private and post a story. To everyone sending hate, you don't know the full story. Harper has always been difficult. We tried to include her in our lives, but she pushed us away. We're the victims here. I screenshotted it and sent it to Jess with the caption, "The missing reasons." Jess, oh my God, they really can't see what they did wrong, can they? Me, nope. And I'm done trying to explain it to them. On December 27th, I went to therapy for the first time. My new insurance had kicked in with my new address, and I found a therapist who specialized in family trauma and narcissistic abuse. Dr. Lisa Martinez was in her 50s, with kind eyes and a no-nonsense demeanor that I immediately appreciated. "Tell me what brought you here," she said. I told her everything. The Hawaii trip, the group chat, the years of feeling like I was never quite good enough, the pattern of exclusion masked as forgetfulness, the gaslighting, the public lies. She listened without interrupting, occasionally taking notes. When I finished, she was quiet for a moment. Then she said, "Harper, what you're describing is a pattern of scapegoating within a family system. You were cast in the role of the problem child, the one who's never quite right, always too sensitive, always causing issues by existing. This role serves a purpose for the rest of the family. It gives them someone to blame, someone to unite against, someone whose exclusion they can justify. So, it's not just me being dramatic? No, it's not. And the fact that you're questioning whether you're being dramatic? That's the gaslighting working exactly as intended." Something in my chest loosened. I'm not crazy. You're not crazy. You're responding rationally to irrational treatment. Moving out was a healthy boundary. Going no contact is a form of self-protection. These are good choices, Harper. Hard choices, but good ones. I cried then. Not sad tears. Relief tears. Validation tears. New Year's Eve, my new apartment was full of people. Real people. Chosen family. Jess and her girlfriend. A few coworkers who'd become friends. My neighbor from down the hall, who I'd met in the laundry room. Aunt Carol, who'd driven 3 hours to be there. Grandma, who'd flown in as a surprise. We played board games. Ate too much food. Laughed until we cried. At 11:45, Jess called for everyone's attention. "I want to make a toast," she said, raising her glass. To Harper, who finally chose herself, who drew a boundary and held it, who built a new life in less than a week. You're the bravest person I know, and I'm honored to be your friend. To Harper, everyone echoed. I felt Grandma squeeze my hand. I'm proud of you, sweetheart. Your mother. She shook her head. My daughter has issues I should have addressed years ago. You didn't deserve the way she treated you. None of it. Message from Maya, October 3rd. She's so exhausting. I'm glad we can have one vacation without her drama. Message from Dad, November 12th. Do we need to make up an excuse for why she's not invited? Message from Mom, November 12th. No, just don't mention it. If she notices, we'll say it was last minute. Screenshot after screenshot. Months of messages. Months of actively, deliberately planning to exclude me and then lie about it. Grandma, in the family chat, I've seen enough. Harper, if you're reading this, I'm sorry. You deserved better. And you three, she was clearly addressing Mom, Dad, and Maya, should be ashamed of yourselves. Uncle Dave, agreed. This is messed up. Aunt Carol. Harper, honey, call me when you're ready. I'd love to take you to lunch. Mom, you're all being manipulated. Harper has always been dramatic. She's twisting things to make herself look like a victim. Emma. Aunt Marie, I literally just showed you proof that you deliberately excluded her. There's no twisting. You did this. The chat devolved into arguments after that. I stopped reading. Your grandma is savage, Jess noted. I like her. She's always been my favorite. Are you going to respond to any of this? I thought about it.
Yeah, once.
Then I'm done. I opened the family group chat and typed. I've seen the screenshots. I know the Hawaii trip wasn't last minute. I know there was a group chat specifically to hide it from me. I know you planned for months to exclude me from Christmas and then lie about it. I moved out because I'm done accepting crumbs of affection from people who see me as a burden. I hope your trip was worth it. Don't contact me again. I hit send, then immediately exited the group chat. Blocked Mom's number. Blocked Dad's. Blocked Maya's. Holy shit, Jess breathed. You actually did it. I actually did it. My phone buzzed. A text from Grandma. Grandma, good for you, sweetheart. You're stronger than I was at your age. If you need anything, money, support, someone to talk to, call me. I love you. I felt tears prick my eyes. I need to call Grandma.
Do it.
I'll make us Christmas breakfast. The next few days were surreal. My social media exploded. Apparently, my story had resonated with a lot of people who'd experienced similar things with their families. The comments and messages of support were overwhelming. But so were the messages from flying monkeys, family friends who'd been sent by my mother to convince me to work things out. Mrs. Henderson from church, your mother is devastated. Family is forever, Harper. You need to forgive and move on. My mom's college friend, I don't know what happened, but I'm sure your mother didn't mean to hurt you. She's such a good woman. Random cousin I'd met twice. Blood is thicker than water. You're going to regret this. I ignored them all. December 26th, my family flew home. I know because Maya posted about it. Maya, back to reality. But what a perfect Christmas vacation. So grateful for family time. Red heart. The comments on that post were not what she expected. Did you enjoy leaving your sister alone on Christmas? Family time without your whole family? Interesting choice. The audacity to post about family after what you did. Maya's response was to make her account private and post a story. To everyone sending hate, you don't know the full story. Harper has always been difficult. We tried to include her in our lives, but she pushed us away. We're the victims here. I screenshotted it and sent it to Jess with the caption, "The missing reasons." Jess, oh my God, they really can't see what they did wrong, can they? Me, nope. And I'm done trying to explain it to them. On December 27th, I went to therapy for the first time. My new insurance had kicked in with my new address, and I found a therapist who specialized in family trauma and narcissistic abuse. Dr. Lisa Martinez was in her 50s, with kind eyes and a no-nonsense demeanor that I immediately appreciated. "Tell me what brought you here," she said. I told her everything. The Hawaii trip, the group chat, the years of feeling like I was never quite good enough, the pattern of exclusion masked as forgetfulness, the gaslighting, the public lies. She listened without interrupting, occasionally taking notes. When I finished, she was quiet for a moment. Then she said, "Harper, what you're describing is a pattern of scapegoating within a family system. You were cast in the role of the problem child, the one who's never quite right, always too sensitive, always causing issues by existing. This role serves a purpose for the rest of the family. It gives them someone to blame, someone to unite against, someone whose exclusion they can justify. So, it's not just me being dramatic? No, it's not. And the fact that you're questioning whether you're being dramatic? That's the gaslighting working exactly as intended." Something in my chest loosened. I'm not crazy. You're not crazy. You're responding rationally to irrational treatment. Moving out was a healthy boundary. Going no contact is a form of self-protection. These are good choices, Harper. Hard choices, but good ones. I cried then. Not sad tears. Relief tears. Validation tears. New Year's Eve, my new apartment was full of people. Real people. Chosen family. Jess and her girlfriend. A few coworkers who'd become friends. My neighbor from down the hall, who I'd met in the laundry room. Aunt Carol, who'd driven 3 hours to be there. Grandma, who'd flown in as a surprise. We played board games. Ate too much food. Laughed until we cried. At 11:45, Jess called for everyone's attention. "I want to make a toast," she said, raising her glass. To Harper, who finally chose herself. Who drew a boundary and held it. Who built a new life in less than a week. "You're the bravest person I know, and I'm honored to be your friend." To Harper, everyone echoed. I felt Grandma squeeze my hand. "I'm proud of you, sweetheart. Your mother." She shook her head. "My daughter has issues I should have addressed years ago. You didn't deserve the way she treated you. None of it. It's not your fault, Grandma." Maybe not. But I enabled it by staying quiet. No more. I told her yesterday she either gets therapy and makes real changes or I'm done too. "You don't have to do that." "Yes, I do. Because you deserved at least one adult in your life who stood up for you. Better late than never." At midnight, we counted down together. Popped champagne. Watched fireworks out my window. I looked around at these people, some I'd known for years, some for only days, and felt more at home than I ever had growing up. My phone buzzed. One new message, from a blocked number that somehow got through. Unknown. "Harper, please. It's New Year's. Can we please talk? This has gone on long enough. I'm your mother. I love you. Let's start fresh." "Mom." I showed it to Jess. "What do you think?" "I think she means let's start fresh, as in let's pretend this never happened and go back to me treating Yuto being the family's emotional punching bag." I let out a long breath. Deep down, I knew she was right. My mother didn't want reconciliation. She wanted control. A reset button that erased all accountability. But I wasn't that person anymore. I put my phone face down on the table and whispered, "I'm not answering." Grandma nodded approvingly. "Good girl." The rest of the night was warm and bright, my first New Year's Eve surrounded by people who genuinely cared. At midnight, when fireworks painted my windows in gold and violet, I realized something. I wasn't grieving my family anymore. I was grieving the fantasy I'd clung to for years. And I was finally free. The new year arrived gently. January was full of small victories, building furniture, decorating my space, learning which grocery store was cheapest, finding a new favorite cafe. Each tiny act felt like reclaiming another piece of myself. Work became easier too. Without the emotional weight of my family, I had space to breathe. My coworkers noticed the change. "You seem lighter," one of them said. I was. In February, I started going to a yoga class. In March, I joined a weekend hiking group. In April, I adopted a rescue cat, an orange troublemaker I named Mango, who immediately made my apartment feel even more like a home. Every so often, I'd get messages through alternate numbers or fake accounts. Some were guilt trips. Some were insults. Some pretended to be apologies, but were drenched in manipulation. I ignored them all. But the real turning point came in early spring, when I was leaving the grocery store and heard someone call my name. I turned and froze. Maya. She was standing by her car, sunglasses perched on her head, expression unreadable. For a long stretch of seconds, neither of us moved. Then she said, "Mom is sick." My heart clenched. Fear, guilt, instinct, habit, but years of conditioning don't disappear overnight. I felt old wounds tugging open, those familiar hooks digging into my ribs. But I forced myself to breathe. "What kind of sick?" I asked cautiously. "She's just upset."
Depressed.
"She keeps crying. She says you broke her heart." There it was again, the script. The role. The trap. I stood straighter. "Is she physically ill?"
No.
"Then that's not my responsibility." Maya blinked. "You don't even care?" "Of course I care," I said quietly. "But caring doesn't mean returning to an abusive cycle." She looked stunned, as if the idea of me having boundaries was absurd. "You've changed," she said. I've grown, I corrected. You can too if you want. For a moment, something flickered in her eyes, uncertainty, maybe even longing. But it vanished quickly. Whatever, she said. Mom was right. You are self-centered. And she turned away. I stood there, watching her walk off, waiting for the familiar ache to bloom in my chest. But it never came. All I felt was relief. Later that night, I told Dr. Martinez what happened. She nodded. You didn't fail a test, Harper. You passed one. And she was right, because for the first time in my life, I wasn't chasing people who refused to see my worth. I wasn't begging for crumbs of affection. I wasn't trying to fit into a family mold that had been designed to exclude me. I was building something better. By the time summer rolled around, my home was filled with plants, laughter, and the kind of peace that felt earned. Mango sprawled across my couch like he owned the place.
Jess had a spare key.
Grandma visited every other weekend. I wasn't alone. I was chosen. And one warm July evening, as golden light pooled across my living room floor, I realized something. My family hadn't abandoned me on Christmas Eve.
They had freed me.
And I'd finally stepped into a life where I belonged. Summer settled over the city like a warm, steady exhale. For the first time in my life, the season didn't feel heavy with obligations or guilt. It felt open.
Clean.
Like possibility. But life has a way of testing your peace just when you start to trust it. It started with an email. Not from my mother. Not from Maya.
From my father.
The subject line was just my name. For a long moment, I hovered over the email, unsure whether to open it. I'd blocked their numbers, muted every possible account, and had no desire to re-enter the cycle I'd fought so hard to escape. But something about my father was different from the others. He never defended me, never protected me, but he also wasn't the architect of the cruelty. He was the quiet shadow behind my mother's decisions. Passive. Complicit. But not malicious. I clicked. Harper, I know you don't want to hear from us, and I will respect your boundaries after this message. But I need to tell you something you deserve to know. Your grandmother sat all of us down last week and told us she would no longer tolerate the way you've been treated. She confronted your mother. It didn't go well. Your mother is refusing therapy. Your sister is siding with her. But I can't keep pretending anymore. You've been treated unfairly for a long time, and I am sorry I didn't protect you when I should have. If you ever want to talk, just talk. I'm here. If not, I understand. Dad. I stared at the screen for several minutes. It wasn't an apology, not a real one. It wasn't accountability. It wasn't an attempt to repair. It was a man standing on the edge of the truth, too afraid to jump but finally brave enough to look down. I didn't reply. Not because I hated him. Because I needed him to understand what silence feels like. A week passed. Then 2. Life kept moving. I started taking weekend trips with my hiking group. I got better at cooking actual meals instead of ordering takeout. I rediscovered hobbies I'd abandoned years ago. Painting, reading, writing. Mango knocked over a plant and shredded my favorite sweater, but even that felt like a normal, manageable chaos. But the real turning point came on a day I least expected. I was at work, grabbing coffee from the break room, when my coworker Liam walked in. We'd always gotten along, friendly, easy conversations, shared lunches during long project days, but he'd never shown more than casual interest. Until that day. You seem different, he said, leaning against the counter. Happier. I am, I said honestly. He smiled, a shy, warm kind of smile that made my stomach flip unexpectedly. Whatever you're doing, keep doing it. It looks good on you. I laughed it off, but the comment lingered. A week later, he asked if I wanted to grab dinner after work. It wasn't a date, not really, but it also wasn't not a date. We talked for hours. About everything. Our jobs, our families, our pasts. I didn't tell him the whole Hawaii story, but I told him enough. And I'll never forget what he said. Harper, being abandoned by the people who were supposed to love you, that doesn't define you. What defines you is that you chose yourself. That takes guts most people never find. No pity. No judgment. Just understanding. It was the first time I felt seen by someone outside my circle of chosen family. Over the next months, Liam became a quiet but steady presence in my life. Supportive, patient, never pushing me to be anything other than who I was becoming. We started hiking together, making Sunday breakfast together, existing together in a way that felt easy and safe. Around early fall, I received another message from my father. A short one. Your grandmother isn't doing well. She wants to see you. My chest tightened painfully. Grandma had been my lifeline during the Hawaii fallout. My supporter. My truth-teller. I owed her everything. I called her immediately. Her voice was weaker than I remembered, but warm. "Oh, sweetheart," she said. "I wasn't sure you'd call." "Of course I would." "I need you to know something," she said. "Your mother's behavior. It didn't start with you. She learned it, and I let it go on for far too long." "Grandma." "No, listen. What she did to you is cruel. But I want you to hear this clearly. You were never the problem. You were the one who broke the cycle." My throat tightened. "I'm still trying." "You're succeeding," she said softly. "And I'm proud of you. So proud." I visited her the next day. Seeing her frail in that hospital bed broke something inside me. But when she saw me, her whole face lit up with love, real love. The kind I'd been starving for. She held my hand. "You don't owe your mother forgiveness. You owe yourself peace." I nodded, tears streaming down my cheeks. A week later, she passed away. The grief hit me like a tidal wave, sharp, overwhelming, but pure. Grieving someone who actually loved you is very different from grieving someone you wished had loved you. The funeral was small. My mother was there, of course, dramatic, tearful, acting like the center of the tragedy. Maya clung to her side, glaring at me across the room like I was an intruder. My father just looked tired. After the service, Mom approached me. "Harper," she said, grabbing my arm. "We need to talk." I looked at her hand on me. The manicured nails, the gold rings, the grip that felt more like ownership than affection. "No," I said calmly, stepping back. "We don't." She blinked. "Your grandmother would want us to fix this." "She wanted you to change," I replied softly. "She never said I had to go back to being mistreated." Her face twisted, anger, disbelief, entitlement all tangled together. "This isn't how family works," she hissed. I felt something inside me settle. A final click into place. "Then I'm grateful I built a different kind." I walked away before she could respond. Liam was waiting outside the church. When he saw my face, he opened his arms, and I fell into them, letting the weight of the day melt into his steady heartbeat. Weeks passed. The leaves turned gold. My grief softened into memory. And one crisp October morning, as sunlight streamed through my kitchen window, Mango curled on my lap, and Liam brewed coffee, while humming terribly off-key, a realization washed over me. I was happy. Not performative happy. Not pretend everything is fine happy. Not the brittle, fragile happiness I used to cling to like a lifeline. Real, steady, grounded happiness. A life I built with my own hands. A life I chose. A life where I was finally, undeniably enough. Life has a way of moving forward even when part of you still feels stuck in the shadows of the past. After Grandma's funeral, the days stretched into a gentle pattern. Quiet mornings, steady workdays, warm evenings with people who actually cared. But the deeper the peace settled into my life, the more clearly I saw the truth. Healing isn't a finish line. It's a doorway you keep walking through. And the next doorway opened in November. It happened during a work training event the company held every fall. A big conference room, stale pastries, too strong coffee, and 100 employees trying to look engaged while an HR director named Denise tried to make team synergy exercises sound fun. We were assigned partners for a communication activity. Mine was Liam. Of course. We were supposed to share something meaningful about our lives that shaped who we were. Everyone around us paired off, voices rising and awkward, surface-level conversations. But Liam looked at me and said gently, "You go first. Only if you want." For a moment, I hesitated. Old instincts telling me to shrink, to hide, to say something safe. But I wasn't living in that life anymore. So I told him the truth. About being the scapegoat. About Christmas Eve. About moving out. About the slow, painful rebirth of becoming myself. He didn't interrupt. He didn't pity me. He didn't offer solutions or judgments. When I finished, he just reached out and took my hand under the table, unseen by anyone else. "You deserved better," he said quietly. "And I'm glad the world didn't get to dim you." It was simple. It was sincere. And it was the first time in my life that someone held my pain without making it about themselves. Later that night, after the conference, he walked me to my car. "Harper," he said softly, stopping under the street lamp. "I've liked you for a long time. But I wanted to make sure you were building your world, not replacing your family with me." I felt my breath catch. "Can I take you out?" he asked. "A real date. No pressure. Just two people who care about each other." For the first time in a long time, I didn't feel afraid. "Yes," I whispered. "I'd like that." He smiled, slow, warm, and real, and kissed me for the first time under the orange glow of the streetlight. It wasn't dramatic. It wasn't movie perfect. It was quiet and steady, like the beginning of something healthy. Something earned. Something mine. The rest of the year unfolded gently. We spent weekends wandering bookstores, trying new recipes. He was a terrible cook, but enthusiastic, and taking long walks through the city. Mango tolerated him, which was the highest feline honor. But healing isn't linear, and the past has a way of testing you. The test came in early December. I got a letter in the mail. Not an email. Not a text. An actual handwritten letter, addressed in my father's handwriting. For a moment, my stomach tightened. But curiosity and the sharp memory of Grandma's last words nudged me forward. I opened it. "Harper, this will be the last time I reach out unless you ask otherwise. Your mother and sister wanted nothing to do with this letter. I am writing of my own choice. I want to see you. Not to fix anything overnight, just to listen. I know I failed you. I know I let your mother's behavior go unchecked. I know I let her hurt you. And I am sorry. Not the sorry you grew up hearing. The kind that means, I see now what I chose not to see. Your grandmother's passing has forced me to confront things I avoided for too long. If you never want contact, I will accept that. But if you are willing, I would like a chance to know you. Not as my daughter in the old family dynamic, but as the woman you have become. I will wait to hear from you. Love, Dad." I read it twice. Then a third time. There was something different. Something real. Something unpolished and vulnerable. I brought the letter to therapy. Dr. Martinez read it and said, "This is the first time your father is stepping out of the toxic system. But you don't owe him anything. Not forgiveness, not a relationship. You choose what's healthy for you." For the first time in my life, the choice was mine. I didn't decide immediately. I let it sit. I talked with Jess. I talked with Liam. I talked with myself, which was perhaps the hardest conversation of all. 2 weeks later, I sent my father a text. "I'm not ready to meet, but I'm open to writing letters. For now." It was a boundary. A cautious one. A safe one. His reply came hours later. "Thank you. That's more than I deserve." And for once, he was right. Christmas arrived quietly that year. The city glowed with lights and falling snow. Jess hosted a tiny dinner with friends. Liam made his terrible mashed potatoes. Mango knocked a glass ornament off my tree and looked proud of himself. My family didn't contact me. Not directly anyway. But Maya posted a passive-aggressive Instagram story. Christmas isn't the same when some people decide to abandon their family. I blocked the account she used to view my stories. Again. And then that was it. No tears. No guilt. No spiral. Just a quiet evening in my warm apartment, sipping hot chocolate while Liam sang off-key to a Christmas playlist and Mango batted gift ribbons across the floor. I looked around at my life, my real life, and felt something I had never felt before.
Peace.
Not the fragile peace that shatters at the slightest pressure. Not the conditional peace that depends on someone else's mood. Real peace. rooted,
Steady. Mine.
and that night, as snow fell softly outside my window, I whispered a truth that had taken me 28 years to learn. Family isn't who you come from. It's who you become with. The next spring arrived gently, almost shyly, with warm breezes and the first hints of green pushing through the city parks. I had settled into a life that finally felt like mine, not borrowed, not tolerated, not negotiated.
Mine.
And in many ways, the story could have ended there. But life, real life, always gives you one last chapter. One last moment that tells you who you've become. For me, that moment came on a quiet Saturday morning. I was at my kitchen table, mango curled beside my coffee mug, when my phone buzzed with a number I didn't recognize. Normally, I would have ignored it, but something nudged me to answer. Harper, a familiar voice asked. My father. He sounded older,
Tired.
but clearer than I had ever heard him. I won't keep you long, he said. I just wanted to tell you that I started therapy. Real therapy. Not the kind where your mother pressured me to say everything was fine. I closed my eyes, taking in his words. I can't change the past, he continued, but I'm learning how not to repeat it. And I'm learning that loving someone means standing up for them even when it's hard. There was a rustling sound on his end, like he was pacing. I understand if you never want a relationship with me. I accept that. I just wanted you to know I'm trying. For the first time in a long time, I felt no anger toward him. No bitterness. Just distance. A gentle one. A natural one. Thank you for telling me, I said softly. And I hope you keep going. For yourself. I will, he promised. We didn't say goodbye in any dramatic way. No tears. No forced reconciliation. Just two adults acknowledging the truth and letting it be enough. And that was the last time we spoke. Not because of resentment, because the story had run its course. My mother never changed. Maya never apologized. The Hawaii family unit stayed exactly as it was, tight, polished, and hollow. But none of that mattered anymore. Because I did change. And that was everything. Later that year, as the sun dipped low over my apartment balcony, Liam slipped a simple silver ring onto my finger. Not an extravagant proposal. Not a spectacle. Just a quiet moment between two people who had built something strong and steady from the ground up. My chosen family grew, friends, coworkers, neighbors, people who showed up because they wanted to, not because they shared a last name. I framed a single picture of Grandma and set it on my bookshelf beside the plants she always insisted I could keep alive. She was right. Years later, when I walked into my new home, a small house with blue shutters and a cozy porch swing, Mango trotting behind me and Liam carrying a box labeled kitchen, I felt it again. The quiet thrum of belonging. Not the desperate kind. The real kind. The kind you create. And on that warm summer evening, as I stood in the doorway of my own home, built from my own courage, filled with people I had chosen, I understood the truth that had taken me nearly a lifetime to learn. Being left out saved me. Being forgotten freed me. And the girl who woke up alone on Christmas Eve became the woman who learned she was never alone at all. Because she finally had herself. And life didn't suddenly become perfect just because I found peace. Healing wasn't a finish line. It was a landscape I was still learning to navigate. And the world, as always, had more chapters in store for me. The first shift came not from my family but from inside myself. In early autumn, I started noticing something surprising. I no longer flinched at holidays. I didn't tense up when I heard Christmas music in a store or when coworkers talked about family gatherings. I didn't shrink. I didn't ache. Instead, I felt neutral, maybe even grateful. That was new. One Saturday morning, while I was watering the plants on my balcony, I found myself replaying the events of the year before, not with pain, but with a strange clarity. Liam came outside, 2 mugs of coffee in hand. "You okay?" he asked, setting one beside me. "Yeah," I said. "I'm just thinking about last Christmas." He leaned against the railing beside me. "Want to talk about it?" "In a minute," I said. "I just realized I'm not hurting from it anymore."
Not really.
He smiled. That's healing. It's not loud. It's not fireworks. It's just quiet. I reached for his hand. It feels quiet. For the first time. And in that silence, I felt something settle inside me. Something steady. Something real. But calm never lasts forever, because life always throws contrast your way. The next twist arrived in November. Jess showed up at my apartment, looking strangely nervous. She plopped onto my couch, hugged Mango, and said, "Don't freak out. But your sister emailed me." I blinked. "She what?" Jess opened her phone and held it out. There it was. From Maya to Jess subject, "Please help me." The email was long, messy, and for the first time, not dripping with entitlement. She wrote about how perfect family had begun to crack. How mom had become more controlling. How arguments were erupting. How dad's therapy was digging up old truths Maya didn't want to face. How she felt cornered. And then the last lines. "I know Harper hates me, and she has every right to. But I don't know who else to ask. She escaped. I don't know how." Jess watched my face carefully. "Harper, what do you want to do?" I sat there for a long time. Long enough that Mango climbed into my lap and fell asleep. Long enough for the sun to dip lower. Part of me felt the old pull, the one that had kept me in the family dynamics for years. The savior instinct. The good daughter reflex. But another part remembered everything. The exclusion. The lies. The cruelty. The way she had laughed at my pain and called me dramatic. Liam, who had been in the kitchen preparing dinner, walked over and sat beside me quietly. "You don't have to save her," he said. "And you don't have to punish her. You get to choose." I took a breath. A deep one. "I want to help," I finally said. "But not at the cost of losing myself again." Jess nodded. "Then help her with boundaries." So I drafted a reply. Not a warm one. Not a cold one. A clear one. "Maya, Jess showed me your message. I'm sorry you're struggling. If you want support, I'm willing to talk, but only if you acknowledge what happened last Christmas and how you contributed to it. I will not return to the old dynamic. I'm willing to speak as two adults starting from scratch, not as sisters trapped in the past. Harper." I hit send. And waited. 3 days passed with no response. On the 4th day, an email arrived. "Harper, I don't know how to apologize for everything. But I'm willing to try. Can we meet somewhere neutral?" My heart twisted, not painfully, but with a strange, cautious hope. I forwarded the email to Dr. Martinez and asked for her advice. She responded, "Go slow. Go protected. Go empowered. And only go if you want to." After thinking it over for a day, I replied,
Yes.
"One meeting. Public place. Saturday at 2. The plan was set. Jess insisted on driving me there. Liam insisted on waiting nearby in case it got overwhelming. I didn't argue, because having people who respected my boundaries still felt miraculous. Saturday came with cold air and a sky that looked like steel. I arrived at the cafe early, hands wrapped around a warm cup to steady myself. Then I saw her.
Maya.
Not the perfectly curated golden child I'd grown up with. Not the girl who always looked immaculate, untouchable, adored. She looked small, tired, human. She sat down quietly. For several seconds, neither of us spoke. Finally, she whispered, "I didn't realize how badly Mom treated us until she turned it on me." I didn't soften, but I listened. She told me about screaming matches, manipulative guilt, favors turned into weapons. The same patterns I'd lived under for years, just redirected. She rubbed her arms, shivering. "I used to think you were the problem. I used to think you were oversensitive." I stayed silent, waiting. "But now," she swallowed hard. "Now I see you were the test run. The scapegoat. She practiced on you." Pain flickered across her face. And I let her. I looked at Maya, really looked, and for the first time, I didn't see the sibling who had hurt me. I saw the girl who had grown up in the same broken house, but with a shield I never had. A shield that finally cracked. "Why did you come to Jess instead of me?" I asked softly. "Because I thought you'd slam the door in my face," she said. "And I wouldn't blame you." I sighed.
Deeply.
I don't hate you, I said. I just had to choose myself. She nodded, tears glazing her eyes. Can you teach me how to do that? I didn't say yes. I didn't say no. I said the truth. I can show you what I've learned, but you have to do the work yourself. She nodded again. And for the first time in our lives, we spoke honestly. Not as sisters cast in roles, but as two women trying to step out of the shadows of the same story. When the meeting ended, she hugged me. It wasn't warm. It wasn't emotional. It was a beginning. A small one. A real one. And as I walked outside, Liam wrapped his arm around me, and Jess honked from her car in triumph. I realized something. My story wasn't ending. It was opening. Not into a battle. Not into reconciliation. But into the complicated, beautiful, imperfect thing that healing really is. A life with room for growth, room for change, room for boundaries, room for love, and room for new beginnings that don't erase the past but rise above it.
Oof.
After my meeting with Maya, life began to shift again. Not dramatically, but subtly, like a door opening a few inches and letting in a new kind of air. She didn't disappear afterward, and she didn't overwhelm me either. She did something I wasn't expecting. She respected my boundaries. She emailed once a week. Not long messages, just updates. Honest, unpolished thoughts. Questions about therapy. Admissions of what she had done in the past. No excuses. No guilt trips. Just effort. I was cautious. I kept my replies short. Present, but not overly open. I wasn't ready to rewrite our history, but I was willing to see what the future might look like. Meanwhile, my own life kept expanding. Work was steady. My friendships deepened. Liam and I settled into a rhythm that felt easy in a way relationships had never felt for me. One night in December, while we were cooking dinner, while I cooked and Liam was burning garlic bread, he said something that stopped me in my tracks. You know, he said, flicking burnt crumbs into the trash, I don't think you realize how much you've changed. I raised an eyebrow. For better or worse? For stronger, he said without hesitation. You're softer too, but in the good way. Like you made space inside yourself for peace. I didn't respond right away. Because he was right. And hearing it from someone who'd watched the transformation quietly, without pushing, meant more than he knew. December rolled toward Christmas again. My first Christmas as a free person had been healing. My second felt defining. I wasn't thinking about Hawaii. I wasn't thinking about empty stockings. I wasn't thinking about the little girl inside me who used to beg for scraps of attention. I was thinking about plans with Jess. About the potluck dinner with coworkers. About the ugly sweater Liam bought for Mango, who absolutely hated it. My home was full. My heart was calm. And then, on December 22nd, Maya showed up at my apartment. Unannounced, but she texted beforehand. Can I stop by? If the answer is no, I understand. That alone told me she was trying. I said yes. She came in bundled in a coat, holding a small box wrapped in plain brown paper. No fancy ribbons. No theatrics. Just simple. Before you open it, she said, twisting her gloves nervously, I want to say something. I waited. When you moved out, I hated you. She swallowed hard. Because you did something I didn't have the courage to do. And I told myself it meant you didn't love us, when the truth was, we didn't love you the way we should have. I felt my throat tighten. She continued, voice shaking. I'm not asking for forgiveness.
Not now.
Maybe not ever. I'm asking for a chance to be someone different. For both our sakes. I nodded slowly. That's fair. She handed me the box. Inside was a framed photo, a picture of Grandma holding me when I was a baby, smiling with that warm, real smile that had carried me through some of the darkest moments of my life. I found it at her house, Maya said. Dad was going to pack everything away and I knew you should have this. I traced the edge of the frame with my thumb. The photo was gentle.
Soft.
Almost glowing. Thank you, I whispered. Maya stood awkwardly in the doorway, unsure what came next. So I made the first move. Do you want to help decorate the tree? I asked. We're doing it tonight. She blinked, surprised, relieved, emotional. Yes, she said softly. I'd like that. Jess showed up with cookies. Liam untangled lights. Mango knocked an ornament off the table with perfect accuracy. And for the first time in my entire life, I was decorating a Christmas tree with my sister. Not in the shadow of our mother, not in the performance of a perfect family, but in a quiet, tentative, real moment. At one point, Maya looked around my apartment. The warm lights, the laughter, the cat wearing a sweater he despised, and said, almost in a whisper, I didn't know Christmas could feel like this. I put down the string of silver garland I was holding and looked at her, really looked at her.
It can, I said.
But you have to choose it. She nodded, eyes shiny. I'm trying. I know, I said. And maybe, just maybe, that was enough. When she left later that night, she hugged me before walking out the door. It was awkward and stiff, but it was a beginning. After she was gone, I stood on the balcony with Liam, the winter air crisp against my cheeks. You okay? He asked. I nodded. Yeah, actually, I am. He wrapped an arm around me and kissed my temple. You're doing the hard work, he said quietly. Most people run from it. I leaned into him, letting the cold night settle around us. I guess I'm not running anymore, I said. I'm choosing. And in that moment, the truth settled deep in my chest. Healing wasn't about cutting everyone out. It was about learning who could meet you in the new version of your life. Not everyone would. Not everyone should. But some would try. And some would rise. And some would meet you on the bridge you built out of your own strength. This wasn't the end of my story. It was the beginning of a completely new chapter. Winter eased into a gentle early spring, the kind that still carried a bite in the air but hinted at new beginnings. My life had settled into a steady rhythm. Work, therapy, evenings with Liam, weekends with friends, but underneath it all was something new. A slow, unfolding She didn't force it. She didn't cling. She didn't pretend everything was fixed. Instead, she reached out with small, consistent steps, a text every few days, an occasional coffee meetup, tiny confessions about things she was confronting in therapy. She had started seeing a counselor recommended by Dr. Martinez, and for the first time in her life, Maya was facing the truth instead of performing it. One afternoon in April, we met at a little cafe near the river. Maya looked different, not in appearance, but in demeanor. Softer around the edges. Less defensive. Less polished. I told Mom I'm not coming home for Easter, she said, stirring her tea. She did not handle it well. I raised an eyebrow. How bad? She called me ungrateful, said I was choosing you over family, said this therapist is filling my head with nonsense. Then she cried.
Dramatically.
I smiled, not out of pettiness, but recognition. Sounds familiar, I said. I used to think that was normal, she whispered. Now I can't believe I lived like that. That makes two of us. She paused, then looked at me with unguarded vulnerability. Thank you for meeting me. I know I don't deserve this. I shook my head. It's not about deserving. It's about trying. Maya exhaled shakily. Then I promise I'll keep trying. And I believed her. Because people don't change overnight, but they can change with intention, humility, and time. Meanwhile, something else was growing in my life. Something I didn't see coming. Liam. Our relationship deepened in ways that surprised me, not with passion or drama, but with safety, with laughter, with ease. He didn't fix me.
He didn't try.
He simply stayed beside me as I rebuilt myself, brick by brick. One evening in early May, he invited me over to his place for dinner. When I arrived, the table was set, candles low, music playing softly. It wasn't fancy, but it was thoughtful. We ate. We talked. And after dessert, he grew quiet. Can I ask you something? He said. Of course. What scares you most about the future? The question was so gentle, so unexpectedly intimate, that I felt it in my chest. I'm afraid, I said slowly, that if I build something good, something stable, my family will destroy it. Or I will. Liam reached across the table and took my hand. You won't, he said. You know why? Why? Because you're not that scared, lost girl anymore. You grew out of those shadows. And you're learning how to protect your peace. I see it every day. I swallowed hard, emotion rising. And if they try to pull you back into their chaos, he added softly, you won't go alone. You've got people now. Real people. Including me. I didn't speak. I couldn't. But the warmth that spread through my chest was something I had never felt before. After that night, our relationship shifted into something deeper, more certain. By summer, Liam started spending more time at my apartment, helping water the plants, cooking breakfast together, falling asleep with Mango curled between us like a furry peacekeeper. It wasn't dramatic. It wasn't rushed. It was right. But life always keeps at least one complication in reserve. It came in late June. I was leaving work when my phone buzzed with a call from an unknown number. I nearly ignored it, but something in my gut urged me to answer. Harper. My father's voice, thin and trembling. I froze.
Dad.
I'm sorry to call like this, he said, breathing shakily. I didn't know who else to reach out to. Fear spiked in my chest. What happened? His voice broke. It's your mother. My whole world tightened.
She's not well, he said.
She's refusing therapy. Refusing medication.
She's angry all the time.
At me, at Maya, at everyone. Yesterday, she threw a picture frame at the wall. Today, she said she doesn't want to live in a world where she has lost both her daughters. My breath caught. Is she okay? I asked carefully. She's physically fine, he said. But mentally? Harper, she's unraveling. I closed my eyes, torn between instinct and experience. Dad, I said slowly, I'm sorry she's struggling. But I can't fix her. I can't go back into that environment. I'm not asking you to, he said quickly. I just needed someone to tell. Someone who understands. My shoulders unclenched. After a long silence, he whispered, I'm trying to get help. For her. For myself. I just hope one day our family won't be so broken. Tears stung my eyes, not from guilt, but from grief for the possibility that never was. We may never be the family you imagined, I said softly. But that doesn't mean we can't grow into something better. He started crying then. Quiet, exhausted tears. Thank you, he whispered, for not hanging up. After we said goodbye, I sat in my car for a long time, letting the weight of old wounds rise and settle again. When I finally got home, Liam took one look at my face and opened his arms. I stepped into them, letting the tension melt. Family, he asked gently. I nodded. You don't have to carry them, he said. Not anymore. But I realized something important. I wasn't carrying them. I was finally learning to carry myself. And that, more than reconciliation, more than closure, was the real healing. Later that night, as we sat on the balcony watching the summer stars shimmer above the city, I felt a quiet certainty settle inside me. My story wasn't heading back into the darkness. It was heading forward, into something fuller, deeper, and more whole than anything I'd ever known. And I wasn't afraid anymore. Not of my family, not of my past, not of what might come next, because I finally understood. I wasn't alone. I wasn't broken. And I wasn't done. Not by a long shot. In early autumn, as the leaves began to turn gold, I realized something I never imagined I would feel. My life was no longer shaped by my past.
It was shaped by my choices.
My relationships. My boundaries. My healing. My courage. And that realization changed everything. One crisp October morning, Liam and I drove to the small lake just outside the city, the one he'd taken me to months earlier when I was still learning how to breathe again. The trees were bright with color, the air sharp and clean. We walked to the water's edge, hands lightly intertwined. There was no tension, no fear, just a soft, steady warmth between us. Harper, Liam said quietly, I know we've taken this low. I know your past made you cautious. And I love that about you. You move with intention. I felt my heart thrum gently. He turned to face me. I don't need perfection. I don't need certainty. I just want a life with you, whatever that looks like, whatever pace it takes. He reached into his pocket. My breath caught, not out of fear, but out of a deep, calm knowing. He held out a simple ring. Nothing extravagant, just beautiful in its sincerity. Will you build your future with me? He asked. Not as an escape from your past, but as a celebration of the person you became? I didn't cry. I didn't shake. I just felt ready. Yes, I said. He slipped the ring onto my finger, and for the first time in my life, a promise didn't feel like a trap. It felt like freedom. We celebrated quietly, just the two of us, sitting on the dock with our shoes off and our feet dangling over the water. Mango was at home, probably knocking something over. Jess was the first person I told later that night, screaming so loud, she set off her dog. Maya sent a long message, emotional, genuine, supportive. Dad wrote a steady, heartfelt congratulations. Mom never reached out. I didn't expect her to, and I didn't need her to, because family, I finally understood, had nothing to do with who shared my blood. Family was who showed up, who respected my boundaries, who supported my peace, who loved me without conditions. My life didn't magically fix itself. My past didn't disappear. My scars didn't fade, but they softened, and they no longer hurt. Months later, standing in my living room surrounded by warm lights and the quiet hum of the evening, I glanced at the framed photo of Grandma on my shelf, her arms holding baby me, her smile full of pride. I did it, I whispered. I really did. And for the first time in my entire life, I felt her presence not as a memory of loss, but as a reminder of love. Real love. The kind I finally learned to give myself. The kind I built my future on. The kind I chose. And that, not the pain, not the trauma, not the past, is what my story became. A story of choosing myself. A story of healing. A story of beginning again. And this time, I wasn't surviving. I was living. Fully. Freely. Finally. This is the true life story that has already touched thousands and will stay with you long after now. Backhand index pointing down. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more true life stories like this.